Hi there, I'm April Callis-Birchmeier. I'm a certified change management professional and project management professional. And today I wanted to take some time to talk a little bit about change in a hybrid world, strategies for engagement. Leading change is extremely challenging in any environment, but hybrid work has added this new layer of complexity. And when some employees are in the office and some are fully remote and some are kind of coming in 2 days or 3 days a week, it really sometimes creates the worst of all worlds. It can be harder to build connection and to maintain visibility and also to create the kind of engagement that helps change take hold. And this is really what I want to talk about. Because in this session today, I'm going to explore what change professionals, project leaders, and people managers need to understand about leading change in a hybrid world. And we'll talk about differences between and in person and remote change management efforts because I feel that they are extremely different. And we have to be prepared to focus both on those stakeholders who are appearing in person and those who are remote, and ensuring that we're providing equal communication, transparency, and visibility and connection with the sponsor between these two groups. I also think that it's important that we figure out that strategies that work in traditional workplace settings don't always translate very well to online or to blended environments. And so let's dig into like some practical ways to think about that and to engage remote employees more effectively. Um, and I think many times remote employees are sometimes quiet and unseen, and we have to make sure that they are heard and that we recognize the amount of communication that we're providing to our remote employees. So, from message timing to thinking about channel selection to leader visibility and reinforcement, we want to talk about how we're going to communicate change in ways that are clearer and more human and more likely to get traction. So, for example, I know that it's so easy and cheap to email. And so sometimes we overuse email. We expect everybody to open and thoroughly read every email. And yet that is like the noisiest part of many remote workers' day is the amount of email they get. They have so much email they cannot believe it and they can't even digest all of it. So I think one of the challenges that we have as change management professionals and project professionals and dealing with people is just selecting the correct channel so that we know that our remote workers are able to receive the messaging that we're sending. There is something interesting that's happened recently that I've noticed and that I'm recommending for my clients, and that is that because there's so much email, we are finding that we get more attention and better digestion, I'll say, of information when we're using the US postal system, the US Post Office. That mailing things in the mail that somebody, a stakeholder, receives, and it's a letter or a postcard or something interesting to look at and to read, is much more effective in getting through and ensuring that messages are received and that attention is paid to those messages. So even though I can't necessarily look at the back end like I can with an email system and I can check that someone has opened an email, I certainly know that there's a level of interest and intrigue with receiving mail, physical mail, and then having that physical mail. And if we can think creatively and start to post very important messaging like a timing of go live and what somebody has to do for training, um, you know how we expect someone to be involved and to provide feedback about their involvement. If we can provide that in a mailing piece, and then we have some sort of QR code or some sort of feedback link for them to be able to respond to it, it's a wonderful tool and can also serve as, great wallpaper in the office when you're remote. Putting something up on the wall is sometimes, a great way to keep, you can even state it in your mail piece, post this on your wall so that you know that that stakeholder is seeing and thinking about that change initiative that's coming through. So I highly recommend the post office. I have many times I'm sending out materials for my course, and I use big red bubble envelopes, and they're so easy to spot when I'm sending out materials to those who are in my courses. In fact, I do have to tell you that one of my students said he was so excited because it was his birthday and he got this big red bubble envelope in the mail, and it was heavy, and he opened it and it was just materials for the course. So he was a little disappointed with his birthday gift. But I think we also want to kind of think about some questions that many leaders are asking, and that is, what do you do when your change is not getting traction, and how do you cut through that noise and communicate change in a way that people notice and understand and act on? I think there's also a great desire for low tech, human focused, people centered communication, light, funny humor, nothing sarcastic or snarky, but is cheerful. And I think that as we're all stressing these days with so much change happening just in our external environment, not to mention our personal lives, and then work on top of it, I think it's important to create some sense of we're all in this together and have some low tech, people centered ways of communicating. I also think it's important to try to build ideas, build some momentum among your team when you're not all in the same room. Now, many groups use Slack, and I like Slack. I think, though, it can get overwhelming quickly with everybody messaging on various channels. And sometimes it feels like rather than solving an issue, people are just like asking people for something instead of thinking through it like, oh, I probably have this information or I might know how to get this. So it depends on how Slack is used in your organization. But when you're leading a fully remote initiative or you're trying to support adoption across a hybrid workplace, thinking about um, what we can do with tools and what we can do to make people feel connected to each other, and to provide some team momentum, some sense of team to strengthen that engagement will really, really improve the approach and basically the strategy for our change. So, I think that one of the pieces that is important to think about also is schedules, location schedules. So, we have people around the globe, and it's difficult to recognize, when somebody's available. And so, this was a challenge that actually I feel like I've been dealing with for about a year or so, where I wanted very much to provide um, our Ready, Set, Change, accelerated training and exam prep to to those folks who are in different time zones. However, it became really complicated. When I was talking with a group in India, I was looking at presenting for them from 5 in the morning until 9 in the morning, which works fine for my schedule. But it wasn't the best timing for them. It was a little bit awkward timing for them. And if I did it later, it was, impossible. And so I think that when we're working together to try to figure out how can we um, build that sense of team across time zones, it's really difficult. I think, the early US hours and the later, across the globe hours, um, having Teams or Zoom calls can help with that, can help people to feel connected to each other. I think also having offline um, competitions of some sort, little games in the team, within the team, and intra-team rivalries and competitions can be helpful too, to building kind of a sense of cohesion and a sense of engagement among those people who are definitely dealing with a hybrid situation. But one of the things that I decided to do finally, and am excited to announce this week, one of the things I decided to do is to create a self-paced training that replicates our live online cohort, um, ready, set, change, accelerated training, exam prep cohorts. And so for many years, we've been very, very successful with having our students join us online on Zoom. And then they study, do quizzes themselves, and watch pre recorded sessions also. And now, starting Tuesday, March 31st, you'll be able to purchase a membership to our self-paced training. And the self-paced training is so cool. I'm very excited about it because the self-paced training really helps this hybrid situation, right? Where people are remote, or they're in a different time zone, or they have other requirements, other commitments that they're not able to attend those live sessions, the cohort sessions. So our self-paced Ready, Set, Change, accelerated training, exam prep takes all that into consideration. I videotaped every single moment of the course. And one of the exciting things is that we have a 2-week, a 4-week, a 6-week, or at your own pace schedule. And so, for example, if you think to yourself, you'd like to sit for your CCMP very quickly, you could do that training in 2 weeks, the self-paced Ready, Set, Change training. You could complete it in 2 weeks. You could complete it in 4 weeks, and you can complete it in 6 weeks. And then you have your study schedule afterward. Now, the cool thing about the 2, 4, or 6 week schedules is that you get to pick. And if you want to do a 2-week schedule, it gives you what you do every day for that 2 weeks, and you receive an email at the beginning of every week reminding you of what you're covering that week. And then afterward, you receive a study session email for 8 weeks prior to your CCMP exam. So I can't wait for you to see that. So I digress. Let me get back to talking about engaging remote employees. I think that one of the biggest challenges is just this inability for us to gather. And gathering is incredibly important. I don't know if you've read any of Priya Parker's book about gathering, but gathering together is incredibly important. And so providing virtual ways to gather, like informal coffee chats on Friday mornings, and maybe we send lunch cards out once a month, and we have an online lunch together. I think that's really helpful and really important to create this sense of camaraderie and this sense of teamwork. I think also, as I mentioned with communication strategies, email is difficult. Slack can feel extremely busy and crazy. And mail is excellent, but not for everyday communication. It's kind of a special piece. But I do think one of the biggest, maybe, keys might be to like set up a communication cadence with those who are remote. Maybe I'm going to give them 3 big emails a week that have tasks in the email, as well as questions and things to think about. Maybe I kick the week off with a meeting, and we follow up with this email, and then I send another one 2 days later, and I send another one 2 days later. And that way, instead of inundating people with email after email after email after email, I can kind of gather everything together and put it in one email, but not just put it in as text. I'm going to put it in as a lot of links, and I'm going to put it in a way that gives people the opportunity to interact very quickly with that information. Because, I mean, let's face it, nobody wants to read a big, huge email. I don't want to read it. I don't want to have to write it. And so I think the taking the time to really focus on thinking about our online strategies and how we can really provide what's needed to people when they need it. I think also creating a SharePoint site or some sort of portal site for our team where everything that's being gathered for that email is is in that team folder. So in case I'm waiting for my email and I think, hey, I don't have time to wait. I think my boss wants this on Wednesday. I can jump into that folder and find what they are developing, find what they've talked to me about, use that link to go and start that work. So if we think about, what do I do if my change is, doesn't feel like it's gaining traction? Well, I think the first piece we want to do is really kind of recalibrate and make sure that we're in alignment, that the change itself is aligned with the strategic goal of the organization. Because if those two pieces are not in alignment, it doesn't matter if people are hybrid. It matters that the change itself, the benefits of the change are meeting and matching the strategic alignment of the organization itself, that the goals and objectives are aligned with what the organization is looking to accomplish and achieve and what the expected benefits of the change are. I also think that if we want to ensure that our teams are all functioning in the same way with the same mindset, it's important to ensure that we're providing the same training for the teams. And that, again, is, I think, where I'm so excited about the self-paced Ready, Set, Change training, because now it's possible to have people all over the world, all over different time zones, take the same training in the same time period. You can choose the 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks, and be able to work together through that opportunity because you're experiencing the same information at the same time, and then be able to come together in a remote environment, come together and do the activities together, practice quizzes together, practice the mock exam together, and ensure that you are completely in sync and aligned with each other on how to approach change. So I think this is a fantastic opportunity. And as I said, it's available on March 31st. So I'm really, really excited to share that with you today. So I think it's challenging. I don't think it's impossible, but there are so many remote tools available in the world. And I think it's important that we take advantage of these tools, that we recognize that using remote tools in this hybrid world, even for those people who are in person, can really create a sense of community, a sense of team, and create some team momentum. And when you train everybody in the Ready, Set, Change accelerated training and exam prep, and you use the self-paced version of that, you are able to ensure that everybody is receiving the same information at the same time, so that you're able to move forward together and reach that alignment and that strategic momentum, if you will, that vision, common vision, and expected benefits from change will lead to. So I'm really looking forward to sharing more about the self-paced Ready, Set, Change accelerated training and exam prep with you on March 31st. And if you'd like, you are welcome to join my workshop. I have a special workshop about designing your change management career. So I'm looking forward to sharing those with you, and I cannot wait to talk with you again about all things change management. Thanks.